One, and we're live.
Hello, everyone. First of all, welcome to Sitecore User Group Session 18, actually our first Sitecore User Group of 2023. I'm Daniel Pastor, the co-organizer of this user group, and we have a super interesting
of this user group, and we have a super interesting
of
this user group, and we have a super interesting
of this user group,
and we have a super interesting of this user group, and we have a super interesting of this user group, and we have a super interesting of this user group, and we have a super interesting of this user group, and we have a super interesting of this user group, and we have a super interesting of this user group, and we have a super interesting of this user group, and we have a super interesting of this user group, and we have a super interesting of this user group, and we have a super interesting.
Okay.
And sorry, Bala, before you get started, please, everyone, feel free to post your questions on the. Sorry, Bala, before you get started, please, everyone, feel free to post your questions on the. Sorry, Bala, before you get started, please, everyone, feel free to post your questions on the. Sorry, Bala, before you get started, please, everyone, feel free to.
For our quest Q&A session. So what exactly is Coveo? Coveo is a search enterprise level search platform. It's fully integrated relevant solution leveraging Sitecore search API. So Coveo is used with multiple different platforms. So here today we are focusing specifically about how to use Coveo with Sitecore. So Coveo does have inbuilt capabilities of using Sitecore search API, and then it can crawl all the Sitecore items directly natively by installing a package on. It is a unified index with AI-powered search capabilities. When I say unified index, it is an index that can crawl Sitecore items or a regular WordPress site or a regular website, or even a REST endpoint that can be crawled directly, and that data can be used for your search data on a Sitecore website. So it is a unified index. Native indexing capabilities, I did talk about this, more about the Sitecore API that it is using. So it does support multilingual sites or multi-site and multi-language support. And out of the box, it does come with a lot of search controls that can be directly integrated on the Sitecore website that we are building. And it does also have XTV integration that could be used for personalization. This is just a quick overview here on the platform. I'll just start with this unified index here, which you can see on the left. There are a lot of sources like Salesforce, Dynamics CRM, Oracle, Sitecore. A lot of other things can be combined as a unified index, and that data is directly being processed. When you start typing a search, the query gets processed to the backend, and the index sends the data back, and also it also captures what data you're clicking and all this behavior and persona. Eventually, that will be used by the machine learning to help relevance tune the data that is being used in the further, like in any other searches that's happening. It also has automatic relevance tuning and recommendations that could help you for a better search experience. So why should I use Coveo? Why not use Solar or Azure Search or any other thing? So the main reason we use Coveo here is it's an enterprise grade platform which has the unified index. We did talk about multiple sources. The second important feature is predictive search that you really don't get with out of the box Solr. So when you start searching, when you start typing something, then automatically it predictively give you certain keywords that you can click on. It's a better user experience if you compare, more like a Google kind of a search experience that you get. The third one is like a better accuracy and relevance. So basically when they say accuracy, it's going to be the more they're going to do searches. So the more it's going to do searches, it's going to tune itself and have a better data. So the next time you start searching for a term, the first time you searched for it, you clicked on the third result. And then the second time somebody is searching for the same term, then the results are automatically moved up to the first. So it clearly understands what people are searching for, what exactly they're clicking for. So that is accuracy. And automatically it optimizes. Multi-region support. So certain clients are very keen about having their data within, for example, if you can consider a European client, they don't want the data to be living on a US data centers. So in that case, they do support, East US, West, and then they also have Europe tenant. Recently, there was an article around earlier, the tenant names used to be available on the URLs. So it's quite visible where Coveo is hosted. But with the recent updates, they have made it more HIPAA compliant. So you're not seeing the exact tenant name where exactly it's hosted. Rather, it's giving you like a dynamic DNS saying like, hey, this is just platform.coveo.com. It doesn't clearly say you which tenant it belongs to. That is something that recently came like a few months back. Out of the box integrations, as I talked before, for Sitecore, they have a package that once you install, it's out of the box, it's integrated with the platform. And the same way, they do have certain packages for Salesforce and a few other platforms that could be utilized. Personalized results, it does capture all the persona. So you can personalize a result for a specific persona that could be used. And the last point is the recent days, Sitecore is moving more towards the containerization. So it does support containers, and officially they do have certain Docker images that could be used. Moving on to this unified index, as I mentioned before, you can see all these all the different data sources that's possible. To name few in past I've used is RSS. I've used SharePoint server. Sitemap is a common thing. If it is WordPress or a non-Sitecore platform, you could directly use that. And we have also used the REST API endpoints. And then you do have a Sitecore channel as well. Okay, what is new with Coveo? So there are a few features that are recently announced with Coveo. So I'm just quickly skimming through those features. One of them is Coveo Query Suggest Preview. So for example, in this case, once you start typing, you can see it is just not giving your keywords, but it's also giving a quick preview of those products. This could be customized so that way it's much easier and better experience. And you do have a preview icon. So you click on that, you get a preview of the product as well. Dynamic navigation experience. I leave the screen on. For example, they're searching for tablet, then automatically your facets are dynamically changing. Typically in your regular scenario, you would be hard coding the facets saying like either it's system memory, total storage and things. It doesn't dynamically change when you start typing things. This is like a huge improvement that can be really a game changer for e-commerce side of things. Posted search page component. This is something which is really, really useful, and especially with the recent versions of Coveo, when they moved away from 4 or deprecated analytic supports from 4, and a lot of people have to move to the latest version or kind of forced to move to, but still they are not prepared, or ASP.NET is no more supported. How do I take care of those sites and still, get the analytics? The answer is posted search page. Basically, in this case, you're designing an entire search experience on the Coveo platform, like drag and drop, similar user experience that you get WYSIWYG. So you drag and drop, you customize everything. Finally, once it is ready, you just publish that. So once that is ready, you publish that, and then this could be embedded on a page. So it can be either an iframe, or you could just use some JavaScript snippets that could inject this the whole search interface inside of your site. It doesn't matter, it has to be Sitecore. So this kind of opens up the door. So you can have a Coveo platform and you could still go and use the same search experience in WordPress or some other non-supported platform as well. That's something really useful. So moving on to the architecture, how this whole thing works here. Here you can see all the labels are available. So it starts from the application data. Consider that Sitecore items are available and that's being pushed to the index. And number two, you can see other source of content, which can be a REST endpoint or a WordPress site or something else. That data is also being pushed. And then once the data is being pushed through the push API, it's available in the index. Everything is unified. So in one single place, you have all the data possible. And then you are using Search Hub, where exactly your search interface and everything is talking through the query pipeline. So once you start typing something, and then the search is triggered, a query is triggered towards the query pipeline. And in the query pipeline, it goes to the index, asks for the data, and the data is getting fetched back. So once the data is there in number 4, you can see a lot of usage analytics are there. That's where Coveo ML gets all the data. So the person searched for term A, what are the results that are being given and what result are they trying to use? So according to those hit ratio and a lot of other usage analytics, that's when the machine learning, you can see number 5, that usage analytics is used. Machine learning trains itself. So the person searched for this term, he clicked on the 6th result, and another person searched for the same term and he clicked on the same result, although it's in the bottom. So it tries to boost the results up, and then the machine learning will train itself given period. And then eventually the cycle keeps going on and on. That's how you get the best relevance possible. So talking about versions, we have Coveo version Sitecore 5.x is the latest, and we do have 4 point something. And 4.x has been already deprecated. So if people are still on 4.x, and the usage analytics will not work. So that is a problem that we ran into with a couple of our clients. We were forced to move ahead and upgrade, but we ran into the same problem. Like they were a couple of sites in ASP.NET, not even MVC, and ASP.NET is not supported by Coveo 5. So we went with a hybrid approach of having the search hosted pages, where we designed all our interfaces for those couple of websites where they were in ASP.NET. Without a lot of work and effort, we were able to use the search hosted component. So technology wise, like I mentioned, ASP.NET is not supported anymore. MVC is supported, SXA is supported, JSS is supported, and they do have a container support. So just a quick brief on the pricing. This might change, and it also depends on your needs and how much queries you do. But basically, they do have 2 different plans, Pro Plus and Enterprise. 2 things to be aware of. The main difference, I'll say, that from the pricing factor, it always depends on what the company needs. But the main difference, I've been using Pro, also I've been certain clients using Enterprise. The main difference is by default, you will get a sandbox no matter what, and you will have a production instance. But if you need more sandboxes, for instance, one of our clients, they wanted a dev and they wanted a stage and then prod. So we have to pay extra for that stage sandbox as well. So that is something to be aware. Typically, you get one sandbox where you can use it for dev and stage, and then one production. The other thing to be aware of is when you go with Pro plan, you are limited to the number of sources you can use. When I say sources, it is the number of source endpoints that you can use, which is Sitecore. It can be SharePoint, or it can be Salesforce. You're limited to the number of sources you could use. Typically, it is like a 2 or 3 they will give. But when you get into enterprise, you will have unlimited sources. So you can have a sitemap, you can have n number of different types of sources. And also another thing to be aware of is the queries per month. This queries also include your query suggest, your regular search query and everything, because it's a cloud-based platform. So you would think like 200K should be fine, but you will not realize that every single thing when you start typing, everything is counted as a query. Or on the pricing, you would be able to talk to Coveo rep and get more information, but the main thing is this queries. And then the second part is the connectors that you see here. A lot of things like recommendations and Sitecore XDB integrations are not available. Earlier, recommendation used to be there, but slowly that has been removed as well. So implementation strategies. Okay, I got Coveo now. How do I get it implemented? So you could do it in different ways. One way is to use their Coveo search UI, where they have a lot of components that could be directly integrated. The second one, hosted pages, like I mentioned before. The URL or link I mentioned here is a production site that is referred by Coveo in their documentation that is using search hosted page. So if anybody is interested, how it's going to look like, I'll show it in part of the demo as well. Headless, we do have headless and Atomic. So headless is more like the raw React based that could be used. And then Atomic is something like a layer that is written on top of it to make the implementation much easier. So there are some differences between that. I will go over it. So now I'll hand it over to Madhu so she can walk through about the installation and demo. Off to you, Madhu.
Thank you, Balaji. Let me start sharing my screen. Balaji, could you stop sharing the screen? I can't stop. Share screen here. Are you able to see my screen?
Yep.
Awesome. This here. So here I have a vanilla instance of Sitecore 10.2. I know 10.3 is released, but when I set it up, it was only 10.2. So I have a vanilla instance of 10.2 installed, and there is no extra modules or nothing is installed. It just I used SIA, the Sitecore installation accelerator, just spin up the environment in 20 minutes. Once it's up and running, I installed Coveo in as a package. So let me go through the thing here. It's just a package like how you install, the same way I installed it over here. Since I have already installed it, I'll just go through my blog where I have put down the step-by-step things, but just wanted to show it over here that for Sitecore 10.2, there is a Sitecore Coveo 5 package, which I downloaded. So this is for Coveo for Sitecore, this is for 10.2, and the Coveo version is 5 point some minor numbers. So just need to go through next, agree the terms and conditions and install. So the installation guide and all the guides are here. Obviously, I'm not going to install, but I have this blog right here where I'm going through the steps. So here is my blog and what to download based on your Sitecore version. Once you download the same here, so, install it as a Sitecore package, upload the package, accept the terms and conditions, hit next and install. Once you install, after the installation is complete, what happens is it will bring up activate Coveo for Sitecore package. So as a regular package, we will see that it's done or restart the client. But here we have this activate Coveo for Sitecore. Once we click on the link, it actually takes it to the Coveo authorization. Once you hit login, it goes into this platform.coveo.com/login. So here, if you're working as an enterprise level, you can log in with SSO, or based on the customer, you can log in with any of the options. But since I was exploring on my own, so I have my Gmail account, so I just logged in with my Gmail account. So once I have the trial account set up, then I went in and I agreed the terms and conditions. Once I agreed, authorized that I should be able to give access to that my SC local 10.2 site. Once I have done, it says that Coveo authorization is successful. Once it's successful, now we need to configure the Coveo, like what version we want, how we want it to proceed. So we have two different options, one for enterprise level, one for pro trial. So enterprise is for 30 days, trial, pro is for 90 days. So you can pick and choose for based on your customer needs. So here, for example, I just created an organization name called SUG Demo and picked up the enterprise trial and just went with the default options of indexing the Sitecore context. I haven't changed anything for now because, for the first time, let's go with the default ones, and then based on how the organization performs, you can change those options. Once going there, it asks for the form name, Sitecore Coveo. I just gave, you can pick and choose any name, and then the Sitecore credentials, Sitecore username and password. I think you can guess my password here. Once you activate, you can basically see the Coveo in the control panel, which I'm going to take you to the Sitecore 10.2. So here we are assuming that it's all installed and everything went well. Sitecore authorization was good. It's a little slow here. So now that everything is installed, I'm going to the control panel. As you can see, it's a new section called Coveo Search. And once I go into the indexing manager, you will see that there is two new indexes, Coveo Master Index, Coveo Web Index. Since it's a brand new site, you're just seeing only 2 documents. But in the regular one, you'll have n number of documents. I can go ahead and rebuild all of them. It's gonna give up it's going to take some time. Yeah, you can see that the bar is coming up and it goes by the stages. It has 4 stages: setup requirements, sending permissions, sending documents, document validation. So it just takes a few minutes to rebuild the index. Once it's all done, all the fields, everything should be available for the Coveo search. And also on the Coveo platform, like here is the Coveo platform login I was talking about. So I'm just going to log in as my Gmail account. Said Google, and it just by default, it went through it, but it's going to, like I just went with my Gmail. And you can see that it's demo for SUG, and you can see that the demo for SUG, and this is the ID of the organization we have created. So these are the things which will be in the Coveo config files. So if I go into the Coveo site, so this is my local site, 10.2 site, app config include. You can see that there is a Coveo folder up here, and there are like 3 configs which are really important. 1, 2, 3. So these are the config when you open up in the notepad. So as you can see, it goes into api.coveo.com, and here is the ID. It should match with your this ID over here. And there are like a lot more settings over here with the secret API key. And these are the things which will come into picture when you have some trouble connecting to the Coveo, which I'll come up in the diagnostic page. But these 3 are the configs which are really important. And you can see like all the form name, everything we have given, Sitecore username, Sitecore password, everything over here. And this is the custom one, which talks about the API URLs over here. Basically, these are the 2 ones. Whenever you have a trouble, you'll just come here and making sure that everything is aligned with what we are seeing in the platform Coveo, and making sure everything is matching. So here you can see that the 2 indexes, whatever we are rebuilding, you can see that it's actually rebuilding the source. That's why you are seeing the dot blinking. And I have added an external source as well to Balaji's blog and my blog. So as you can see, it has rebuilt a month ago. So if you like, we can actually rebuild now as well. Like this, you can add any external source. So when I say add source, you will have n number of options, YouTube, everything, so many options, so many connections, so many options. So along with your Sitecore site, you can actually bring in your external data as well to your Coveo search. This is super helpful with the third-party APIs connecting to different sources. So it just, in a matter of minutes, you can bring in those data into Coveo search. And coming back over here, so the indexes are built now, and you can see that it's just completed a minute ago. The same for the web index as well. Same here, and now if we come here, it says ready to receive the content. Coming over here, before I come into this, I would like to show this diagnostic page. So whenever you have some trouble with Coveo indexing, which didn't come, or there is a connection issue, there is a lot more things can happen. So when you're troubleshooting, the diagnostic page is my favorite page to troubleshoot any of the issues. It just takes a minute to come up because it needs to connect to all the services. A lot more information over here. Let it load for a minute, and then I'll come back to this in a moment. So on the indexing, we just re-indexed all the indexes, and here we can see all the fields which are in the indexes. We can very well bring the external and the computed, like how we do in Solar, the same way here. Everything is everything we can do over here. Since it's a brand new site, you don't see much data because not much in there. But in the real world, you'll have so many of them. And regarding the security, the same thing, Sitecore credentials, indexing permissions, anything, if you have changed, you can just apply and restart. It should take effect. The same thing with the role and reactivate identities and all that stuff. Relevant tools, this is where the AI and ML come into picture, where you can train your model to learn those search algorithms or search keywords. This is much more advanced. So if your organization is having a large number of data, and if you like to utilize the ML, AI and ML, here is the place to go. And coming on to the Coveo Cloud organization, you can see the same organization ID over here. So for me, what happened was a month ago, I set it up, and then 30 days later, my license have expired. So I have to come here and recreate the one for another 30 days. So once I created, it stopped working because the IDs and none of the things were matching. So all I needed to do is I needed to log in from here, which connects to the platform.coveo.com, and authorize. Once I authorize, it brings in the organization I have created. So if it is expired, I can go ahead and create a new one. So what I learned so far is I usually go for a pro trial now, which is of again 30 days. But for some reason, I felt like pro trial was better, and I gave an organization name, and you can choose the region and apply and restart. It should create a new organization name, and you will see the same over here in the sources as well. So this is how I fixed my expired Coveo organization. So if you are playing with it on your own, feel free to create as needed. And here are the endpoints which we saw in the config, the same thing which we are seeing in the config file. Going into indexing options, by default, it goes into the HTML data. But if you like to go for an Sitecore item data, you can very well go for this. But I just went for the default one for testing purpose. Reverse proxy, I haven't changed anything, whatever comes with it. And let's check the diagnostic page. It's still loading, but just give it a second. Yep, here is the page. So as you can see, everything is up and running, but whenever it has trouble to connect, it usually red and it gives an error with the detailing one, which config and everything, which was like super helpful to troubleshoot any issues. But now it's all green. Let's move on to the Sitecore version. it gives what is the Coveo version, Sitecore version, whether these are compatible with each other. And here is the organization ID. You can go into the config, or you can come here to quickly check as well. Here is how much the usage, documentation, what is the limit for the count for this organization thing. Here are the Sitecore config files are involved, but there are the 2 Sitecore config files which are super important. Coming on to the Sitecore published items, I'm gonna do the show details, which I haven't published any of the stuff because I just installed it. I haven't published, so that's why you are seeing it. But in the real world, you will see everything would be green, or it will show that whatever is not published, you can go ahead and publish as well. Coming on to the indexing part, whether we can index over here with the rebuilding all the indexes, or if you have a specific document, like say, for example, somebody has done a test folder and which is not coming in search, you can pretty much go into the actual folder and index those particular ones so that it's faster, and you can check in the search that whether the results are coming or not. This is super helpful when troubleshooting when the content author says that I have created, I have published, I have done everything, but then the content is not showing up in the search results. And Sitecore Log Viewer, this is another my favorite, because in production, when you don't have access to production servers, or if you have, you don't need it to go inside the production server to see what's happening, you can just see the latest Sitecore logs always on the top. You can pick and choose what time and what date you want. You can pick and choose from this drop down. But I just needed the latest one. So here everything loads, the whole Sitecore log loads over here. So you can, and it's colored green and red and yellow. So I'm just going to go through the red section. I'm sure my XDB and things are not working. Yeah. So here is just to show the errors. Since it's my local, I haven't set up my XDB one. But in the real world, it's super helpful to see where the Coveo related issues are, and it just gives it instantly to resolve any issues in production. And here is all the indexing list. So as you can see, Coveo Master and Coveo Web, Coveo is S. Whether you can reindex it over here or in the control panel, as well as how you regularly index. Here as well, you will see those 2 new Coveo Master and Web, and you can reindex from here as well. So this is pretty much all about the Coveo installation and how you troubleshoot any issues, or figuring out how to reindex the Coveo documents. With this, I will give it to Balaji. Bala, it's your turn.
Yeah, let me try to share. Give me one moment. Okay, able to see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, so I have pulled up the platform. So the next thing we are going to go through is the platform overview. Second. Yeah, okay, I'll show this here. So this platform walkthrough, I'm just going through all different numbers here and what exactly and how they're being used. Okay, so the first and foremost that we need to be knowing is this content here. So once you open this, you have a section which talks about the different types of sources that you have added. Madhu did go through certain things, and when you hit add, you see all different sources. And most of the times with Sitecore, once you install from the client side or from the package itself, these things are being created. So you see these 2 are automatically created from the backend. Once you do a installation is complete, and once you run the configuration wizard, this automatically gets created. And you do see there are a couple of sitemaps or source that have been added, which is my blog and Madhu's blog here. Those two are directly added as an ad source from the Coveo platform itself. So this is where you do all the sources being added. And another option you get here is the edit, where you get what is the path it is crawling and all other authentication, what needs to be included, content security, access, a lot of other things you can do here. But most of the Sitecore stuff, we don't edit anything. Keep in mind, anything you do with Sitecore, everything has to come through the configuration from your Sitecore side. So the main reason I need to mention this is anytime you make a change here, for instance, if you go here, or I'll also talk through the fields, any changes that you make for Sitecore in this platform will be lost the next time Sitecore reindex happens. Always, whenever a reindex is happening, it will try to sync the Sitecore configurations from the Sitecore side to the Coveo, not the other way around. So if you make any changes here, that will be lost whenever indexing happens from the Sitecore side towards the Coveo platform. So that is a very important thing that to be aware of. Second thing is a log browser here. So this is very important and useful whenever you really want to debug an issue, or for example, a particular item is not getting crawled and if you want to figure out what's going on, this is the place you need to look into. And anytime an item is being crawled, you can see it goes through different stages. So they're like a pre-indexing stage or a processing stage and a mapping stage. And all the items that are being pushed here comes as a batch. So it doesn't do one item at a time. You can do like 100 items at a time as a batch, and the entire batch gets pre-processed and kind of maps, and it kind of figures out all the fields, what is needed. So you can see all different stages are here. So it doesn't mean like the indexing says completed on the Sitecore side. It is not readily available to be used on Coveo. It takes a minute or few to go through all these processes here. Once the consuming stage is done, that's when the index is all ready and it can be directly used. So this section is field section. Here all the different fields are available. In the older versions of Coveo, all the fields are by default pushed. Like in Coveo for Sitecore 4, all the fields are default pushed. Doesn't matter if you use it or not, by default everything is added. With the newer versions of Coveo, only the system and like certain fields are by default pushed. And if there are any custom fields or custom template fields that you created in Sitecore needs to get into Coveo, then you need to define that fields in Coveo configs that Madhu was walking through. And you can see each fields, it will say where it is being used. So certain things, it doesn't matter, like these fields are common between sources. So if in my blog, I have an author field, you can see this here, that is being used in 4 sources. It means that the same author field can be used across different sources. So it is used with my blog. Madhu blog also has an author, although they are 2 different platforms. And there is Sitecore, which also has the author field. So that is a main thing. With this, it clearly talks about that. And another important thing, if you notice here about the facets, multi-value or sortable. So each field, if you try to edit, it will show these values here, multifacet, sortable, and you can have this as required in the free text search. A lot of things you can do here. Again, a caution, if you're using Sitecore, all this configuration has to be done by Coveo, the config files, not directly edited here. So I've learned it the hard way. In initial days when I was learning Coveo, I was coming and changing, this is not multi-value. That is the reason the facet is not working. Let me do this and I will make the changes and do things. Eventually, after one field, one item index, this will reset automatically back to the state. So that is something to be aware of. This is also another important thing. This is like a built-in, you can think as a search interface. If you are searching for a particular item, typically I use this option, go with indexed date. So whenever you're doing an item is being indexed and some fields are not showing up, so mostly you will come and search for that item or, reindex that particular item in Sitecore. come back here, do by index date, and mostly your first item would be that item. So you can click on properties, and then you can search for a property that you're looking for, like what's going on here. Am I able to find that property or not? This will be really handy in that case. So a lot of things you can see, all there are like built-in fields, and this is all coming from Sitecore, if you notice. And there are certain fields you can see all this X95, or this is like a short code that's like prefixed with Coveo. So there is all these are like system fields, and you can put it in that way. And then you can quickly, do a filtering. And so this is like a fully built search interface that you could utilize. And also it gives you an option to choose between different pipelines. I will also show you that. What do you mean by that? We don't have any extensions here at the moment. Security identities is more like a authentication provider, what being used. Crawling modules also we have not introduced. This is more like a on-premise if you don't have a VPN access or something, or your dev environment is not exposed out to the internet, then you can install the crawling module on your on-premise, and then you can push the content out. In Sitecore case, that's exactly what's happening. You really don't use it. Commerce, we're not going as much, but you do have catalogs. And so there is a difference between your regular Sitecore and Sitecore for commerce. And then there is also this service. This is specifically used for all your Salesforce, more like a case assist, wherein it. So these two are different platforms that you need to get. Like the regular Coveo, you will get all this content. You will not have this commerce or service. So those are two different things that needs to be added. When you get into the search, you do have query pipelines that I was talking through. At the moment, you can see there is only one pipeline. Keep in mind, like for every search interface, it's recommended to create separate query pipelines. And this image is very clear on how this works. So when you search for a laptop, what needs to be shown, what needs to be filtered, everything can be processed in the pipeline. So this is where it passes through. If you want to boost your results, you want to reduce it results, or you don't want to show certain results, or you want to show certain results or your feature results, all this you can do in here. Quickly, I'll skim through this. So you have the overview here. You can add certain conditions, and you can also see relevance tuning model or query suggest model that can be done. You can do A/B testing. You can add certain contents, and you can have two different sets of results and see which is performing better. The same goes with groups and campaigns. Search terms. You can have thesaurus and stop words, and certain words you don't want in your organization to be searched. Then you can have these words added here. Results ranking. This is where you can write your rank. So basically a simple ranking expression, or you can have your featured results. The ranking expression is nothing but you can say, hey, I will search for an author field, and if it matches in this case Madhu's name, then I want to boost the results by some number. So you can have multiple conditions, and the best part of this is you have a preview window here. So basically you can test the search term or how this query pipeline works before you add the role. So the same way goes certain things you don't want to be higher. For instance, a lot of times there will be like a certain PDF documents, I don't want to show that, or there will be pages, I don't want to show the pages, rather I want the PDF. So in those cases, you can have multiple rules. And the rules also goes with the sequence that it is going. So the first rule goes, and then the second rule and third rule, and kind of, so the sequence does matter here. Machine learning, we didn't add anything, but by default, when you try to add, it gives you few options. Most of the times we use the query suggestions and automatic relevance tuning. These are like the default ones we kind of added. Query suggestion helps you to give the query suggest for the search terms that you're looking for, and typically it's like a 30-day automatic relevance tuning, 30-day automatic query suggest will happen, and then automatic relevance tuning. Typically, they set for like a 90-day period or something like that. And also keep in mind the query suggest does not work right away. Minimum, it needs to have like 10 or 15 times the same word has to be searched. That's when the query suggest will start working. So it is not something like you install it and say like this query suggest will work right away. There is a certain piece of code that Coveo gives you. So it's more like a bot that you can use to build your query suggest. So it will do a certain term multiple times, and then eventually you will get the query suggest working. So that is something, a piece of code that you could use to automate this process rather, manually searching for the same term multiple times to get it working. Okay, so moving on to the pipelines, we did go through that. So did I miss anything there? Okay, another thing is the filters rules you can do, and you can also do a trigger. In my case, I've used this for a particular scenario. When people are searching for a particular term, I can kick them directly or redirect them to a site. So in our case, we use this scenario for a intranet search. If somebody is on the internet site searching for the intranet term, then we kind of redirect them. So that's where we have used. Ranking weights is something that is also for a particular term. If you're doing, then you can boost the ranks. And I did query parameters as well. In this query parameters, you can have for example, there is a campaign. If somebody is coming from a campaign, you see that query parameter, then you can have certain things configured for the default query. Moving on to search pages. So this is something I was just wanted to go through. So I have it pulled up here. So I have this search page that is created. Let me open it again. So this is a classic search page. When you click on edit, you can see this is the one I was talking about, the search hosted pages. So the code view is coming through. There is not much code here. And all this is drag and drop. I can drag and drop a tab. Or I can use this one. Let me try to edit this one. So you can see this in the search box I'm trying to edit. And then it gives me all these options here, what placeholders needs to be, how many search suggestion, trigger a new query on clear, and things like certain options that can be done directly. When I hit on this settings here, you can see the result list and result templates. When you click on result templates, this is the one you're seeing here, this one particular item. So you can click on that, edit as well if you want to. And here you can see I wanted an icon. I can drag and drop, or I can move things here. So it will show like this. So it is giving a quick preview that how it's going to look like. Okay, let me use a smaller icon. Then I can do an apply. So you can see how it works here. So you can design this entirely here. In the past, like when I started using Coveo, I would come and design everything here and then copy this whole HTML code, and then I can instantiate using my JavaScript UI. So the new things we use with React, we don't do it that way. But this is a quick scenario. You can see how these things are organized. So once you have this organized, then you can use this page in the search hosted way, and then you can use it as a kind of an iframe or a JavaScript enabled on any site. So I will quickly show you through the new way of building things. Just this page. Looks much more modern, and this is a recommended way to use it. Coveo typically, like if you don't have enough developers support and things, like Coveo recommends going this route. So you can build a nice looking user interface, and you can see here what things are being chosen. Here, only Madhu's blog is being chosen. So you can see only Madhu blog results are shown. And you also get an option here for the query pipeline. If you're creating a new pipeline with a different one, you could use that. Results view, and you can say like grid view or list view, whatever you want, you can choose. And then you are having different block templates as well. Each block template, then you can say however you want it to, like the look and feel, everything has been configured here. This, you see this dynamic navigation is being used according to what's being searched in the facets. And then you can also add custom facets here, which field you want. In this case, I want author, and I get the author here. And then also the styling, the primary colors, and can add a logo. You do everything here. You save this interface, and then eventually you can use this page directly on this. Main thing is this is the page ID, and then there is a piece of code that you can use to inject this page as a search hosted page. Going back here. So you have the machine learning. We did talk through this briefly. I did walk you through in the query pipeline. The query suggests an automatic relevance tuning of the most common one we would use. We do have analytics. The main important part of analytics is if you're doing reports, basically it gives you a report on, you can take reports on what search terms are being done and what is the click ratio. And if there are certain search terms, if nobody's clicking or no results are turned out, that is something really important for the content authoring team that you can pass it on. So they could use that data and build more content relevant to that. Other than that, it's all like a regular analytics that will not have as much, but this is the content gap that I was talking through. And after that, you have the organization where you can create API keys. In this case, you can see there is a Sitecore API key automatically created. When Madhu installed and configured, it automatically creates an API key. That's the one used. And once API key is created, you cannot see the value. It's like if you want, again, you need to create a new API key. The last one I want to quickly walk through is the resource snapshot. This is something you would, certain settings, whatever you have configured, like pipelines and a lot of things with Coveo, that can be taken as a snapshot. And this is a new feature that was recently launched. And this can be exported and then imported into another organization. Or you can think in a way that you want to configure everything on your sandbox, test it, everything is good to go. Then you kind of take a snapshot and then you can promote it up. The other quick one I wanted to talk through, this is the example I was talking earlier. This is using the search hosted page. Doesn't look like that, but it does use it. I think that's all I have here. Let me go back to my slides quickly. Okay, we did go through this one, and I will hand it over to Madhu. You want to walk through it?
Sure, Bala. So Coveo certification is something fun because it's not like a closed book, it's an open book. And it has 90 questions and it's a 3-hour limit. So each question gives you like 2-minute time. You can reference online, you can Google, you can reference anything because it's an open book. And the pass mark is 70% score. The only thing is once you answer the question, you cannot go back to the previous question. And you can pass the exam as well, and then after a couple of hours or next day, you can reassume. But it's recommended that you do it in one sitting. I tried the first time and it took me 2 hours, 45 minutes, I believe. And my score was somewhere around 80% or something like that. Pretty much like half of the questions you can, if you're working in Coveo, you can answer right away, or if you can Google as well, you can find some of the answers. But if you're familiar with Coveo, it's not a difficult exam to crack. And also, if you're starting new, there is a Coveo in-person training that happens only in 2 cities, though, one in Quebec, Canada, and one in San Francisco, which I didn't go both of the places because it's far. And what I did was I did the level up training, which is an online and a free one. It just have a small modules, each and everything has a small modules. You just go through each module and answer those questions, which is more than enough, I feel. And once you're done with the level up, you can register for the Coveo exam, which is also a free exam. And even if you fail, I think you can take the second one as a free one. So feel free to try out the Coveo certification exam, and it's an open book. It's always fun. And also if you're doing it together with some group, it's even more fun. And coming on to Hackathon and CirCon is happening next month. Hackathon registration is closing by 17th, and it's happening on March 3rd and 4th. 24 hours event, which I really love it. It's a lot more. You will learn a lot. Feel free to register for Hackathon. And Sarcon Europe is coming up on March 23rd and 24th. If you are able to go, please go for it, since we don't have a symposium this year. Community, Slack, and the Sitecore Stack Exchange. If you're not part of the community, Stack Exchange or Slack, feel free to join. There is a lot more information available there to help out with any of your errors. Anything you need, reach out to those channels or create a question in Sitecore Slack Exchange. It's very active community. Please join. Question and answers.
Awesome. Thank you very much, guys. Danny, do you want to go ahead and read the question? I think that was Deepti Kata.
I guess that was the who was asking that question. Actually, it's a very good one. So she's asking, out of implementation strategies listed, headless, atomic, hosted search pages, which is your favorite and why? And we understand that this highly depends on the project, but if you had to pick one, which one would you pick?
Okay. Am I on mute or no?
We can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, that's a good question. So there are like a few options here. Posted pages is what Coveo is recommending. And I've used it in recently, and it seems to be very straightforward and much faster to implement and get it done. If we don't have a lot of developers, that is for the hosted pages. And if you use the second one is headless and atomic. So I've used both. My personal favorite is being headless, but Coveo officially recommends to use atomic. The main reason I personally did atomic and then we flipped over to headless at some point, this was due to a lot of customization or styling is limited in atomic. Atomic is internally using something called a shadow DOM. Basically, they don't want, for example, if you're having a H1 style or color that's being at the website level, that does not affect the Coveo components. Though they created a capsule, or shadow DOM is like not something new. It's kind of like a small iframe kind of a thing that hosts only your DOM elements. So it kind of creates as a shell. So it doesn't have like outside styles does not get inside. So the main problem here is it limits our capability of styling those elements. Coveo has to expose those elements to us through a property, and those properties can be only styled. So it was very painful. And at some point, we kind of flipped back. So we started with atomic, and it was painful, and then we fall back to headless. Headless seems to be too raw. Not everybody would like it. But once you get the hang of it, it's much easier to do, and it's much more customizable. Hope that answers your question, Deepti.
There is a follow-up question that says, what would be the limitation on hosted search pages according to you?
Personally, we did not run into any limitations. We were able to design the page and we did use it. Not really. I didn't see any limitations on that, to be honest.
Not even styling?
No, not related to the styling. No, absolutely not. So styling is much easier when you do it with the hosted pages, because it's using JavaScript and the pages are dynamically loading into your DOM. It is not exactly an iframe. So basically, you can have your styles defined on the Sitecore side of pages, and then it can still affect. And we did use it with one of the WordPress sites as well. It was perfectly fine. And exactly, if you see the demo that I showed, the view where I showed where you can also have your styles embedded there. So you can even have your styling defined on your Coveo search hosted page, and then that could directly get injected here.
Perfect. Sounds good. Danielle is also asking, what other materials or resources do you recommend to continue learning Coveo?
Level Up will be the best place for you to do that. And then they give a free trial, so it's not too restricted. So go ahead, start with the trial. And I believe the developer trials nowadays are 90 days. So you could start, get it installed, play around, you will figure out. And they do have a Coveo specific Slack community. You can join that as well. And there are like Coveo employees actively on there and other community members also that help you out.
Thank you.
Sounds good. We don't have any other questions right now, but I did have a question. So back in the days when you installed the connector for Sitecore, you also got the components, the Sitecore Hive components. Are those you're not using those directly on pages like in Experience Editor?
So they are still available, but the Hive components will not be accessible for you when you're doing with any headless implementation. So when you're doing headless implementation, then you don't. So if you have used Hive in the past, it is not similar to the same when you do with headless implementations, because you're building your custom components. It does not have the backend Sitecore, what do you call, like, for example, I showed you a search box. You want to have certain properties related to search box that's available with Hive. It's not the same with headless. You have those options, but they're not exposed in, Sitecore as a data source or something. Then you really want that scenario, you need to replicate that item and then pass it as a props and then use it on the client side.
Right. So basically, for a headless site, you are using the connector just to index things.
Just push the items to the Sitecore, and then we will be using Coveo's headless library, their components. We are not building everything from scratch. You will use their React components toolkit, and then you start wrapping around and styling it and using it your way.
And since the connector installs a bunch of things that are not used for this type of scenarios, wouldn't it be easier to just like have a sitemap source instead of installing the connector just to index things?
You can do a sitemap source. There are a lot of disadvantages of doing that way. For instance, the main disadvantage I would say is like if you have a Sitecore item, when you publish that item, you want those changes to be instantly reflecting. Or if you have an item being deleted in Sitecore, you want that item also to go out of the Coveo index. Those kind of features you will be losing if you use the sitemap connector.
Sounds good.
I did have one question, guys. This was a personal question, actually. Well, we know that Sitecore search is in the horizon. So I was wondering, how do you foresee, Coveo and Sitecore search actually coexisting in the future?
Okay, so that's a good question. I have seen these questions, combination of asking search tags, Coveo, and Sitecore search. Where do you see each of these things lining up? So the answer would be it depends on what you need and what you're willing to pay. So from the the cost aspect of it, I would think search tags and Sitecore search aligns. It's cheaper than getting a Coveo, but Coveo is more like an enterprise grade search, which is totally a different one. Sitecore search, we did see how that's being implemented. I've been exploring that platform as well. I personally feel like Coveo is pretty straightforward to use. Search tags is also straightforward to use. They used to have certain features that were missing, like AI or query suggestion, a lot of things which they have improved over the years. So it has if you want a lower cost version for a better search experience, starting point would be search tags, and then the second one is a little bit advanced, and Sitecore search configuration is pretty hard compared to what you have been doing with Coveo or whatever. I walked through the platform. I was able to entirely walk through the platform in 30 minutes. Sitecore search is a bit more complicated. It has a lot of features, but it needs to be, it's too raw that you need to customize for what you need. Let's put it that way.
It needs to mature. So
it is mature. Basically, it starts from the reflection platform, but reflection is more towards the commerce, and it has a lot of customization. I personally started, creating a source was not straightforward like Coveo. I was just able to go here, add a source, give a URL, and it's good. It's the same with search tags as well. But if I go into Sitecore search, it's going to take a lot of time. I need to tell the crawler what to crawl, what fields are there, how fields are mapped, and I have to give a lot more information, which is much more powerful for a regular user. That's a bit complicated. And also, Sitecore search, their team is quite involved when you're setting up the sources. In Coveo, you can set up a trial and you can do everything yourself, or search tags for the matter.
Perfect. Makes sense. Thank you. Rich, I don't know if we have another question.
I don't think we have any other questions. So thank you very much, guys. It was super interesting. And for everyone else that's watching us, we're gonna have sessions as usual once a month. So we will keep you posted, and we hope to see you guys again very soon. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you for
Thank
You guys, see you in the next one. Bye bye.
Yeah.
Bye bye.